The Rock Metal Podcast, episode 183 with Pharaoh. All right, Rock Metal Nation, what is up? This is John from the Rock Metal Podcast. That's Anthony Shirley was After the Fire by Pharaoh, who I've got on the show with me right now. They're re-releasing their debut album called After the Fire on vinyl, set to release via Cruz del Sur Music later this month on August 24th. Right now I'm being joined by Matt Johnson to share some stories about the music and share more info about the band. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Hello, good sir.
Hello. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Taking a break from work to talk about metal, so, that's an upgrade.
Always a good day when you're taking a break from work to chat about metal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Speaking about chatting about metal, let's go and listen back to that track, After the Fire.
Useless in the sun.
I come back from After the Fire. Now, definitely a killer opener to the album. I'm curious, what is the story or inspiration behind the track?
This was one of the last songs that we wrote for this album, and it was mostly written by Chris Black. So this is going back in time for me, so I'm going to struggle a little bit. I think we had written pretty much everything else on the album, and he had the song that was mostly done, but it was missing a couple pieces. So he was over at my house at one point, and the way Chris used to write the stuff is he would write it out on sticky notes, just like the chords or like a few notes of notation to show how the riff went or something like this. So I sat there and played with that. I don't remember if we had a drum kit set up. We must have, and we ran through the riffs that he had, and I think what we needed was a chorus and maybe a bridge, and I just improvised those riffs in a few minutes, and they worked out really well. The lyrics came later, as far as I know. Chris might have had them already written, but it was really, a kind of a standard issue, post-apocalyptic kind of thing, but what I think that he was going for was more of an optimistic take on that sort of subject matter. It's in most metal, it's, the world has ended and now the, zombie survivors of the nuclear apocalypse are scrabbling out a difficult existence or some such thing. But he was really more interested in the rebuilding of the world. And that ended up tying in with the cover art and everything like that, which is really supposed to represent kind of like a phoenix-like rebirth after some sort of cataclysm. And so if you look at the cover, it ties in with that track. And the little phoenix eggy thing in the middle of the image kind of became our mascot's a dumb word, but since it's not a sentient thing, but it's on every cover in the same way that Eddie's on every Maiden cover or Vic Rattlehead is on at least the good Megadeth albums. So it all started there, and it wasn't as pre-planned as maybe it looks in retrospect, but it worked out okay.
Cool. Well, let's go listen to the next track. Now is the time. Metal Nation, it's John from the Rock Metal Podcast for a real quick break to let you know that Jay over at Metal Mayhem Radio is looking to help you get your band in rotation on his station. So go ahead and hit up Jay at studio@metalmayhemradio.co.uk. That is studio@metalmayhemradio.co.uk. Just go ahead and say that the Rock Metal Podcast sent you. He'll get you into rotation on Metal Mayhem Radio. Coming back from Now Is the Time, a similar question for you, Matt. What is the story or inspiration behind Now Is the Time?
Well, this is a song that I wrote all the music, but Tim wrote the melodies and the words. I think that is one of the better patterns that we have in Pharaoh, because I'm the guitar player, so riffs are kind of my thing, but Tim's the singer, so vocal lines should sort of be his thing. He's also a good lyricist, and Chris Black is also a good lyricist. So I think our very best tunes are the ones where I write the riffs, Chris writes the words, Tim writes the melodies. This one was just me and Tim. And I think that it's really, the lyrics to that song are pretty much what the title suggests. This is sort of a carpe diem message. Like, this is all we've got on this earth. Let's make the best of it.
All right. Well, so for Rock Metal Nation, who is excited after hearing After the Fire and Now Is the Time, and maybe this is the first time they're hearing Pharaoh, when we pick up the reissue of the album on vinyl, what should we expect, Matt?
Well, it's our first album, so you should expect mediocre production and some a little bit of sloppy playing, but that's the charm of all great debut albums, right? So, when I listen back to that album, there's a lot about it, of course, that I want to change, but the fundamental characteristics of it and the songs themselves, I'm totally happy with. So what you're going to get is American traditional metal, leaning a little more heavily on Iron Maiden and some of the German power metal bands than what was common, at least at the time. And when we started writing that album in '98, came out in 2003, and this was, of course, before the big boom of all those melodic bands in the States like Holy Grail or White Wizard or Huntress, or, now there's a gazillion of them. Back then there was us, Iced Earth.
Cool. All right. Now, Matt, for Rock Metal Nation, who is totally excited to find out more about you guys, is there a place that they should go to on the web?
We have, I guess, the usual site. We have a website at solarflight.net, but that hasn't been updated in, 5 or 6 years. We have a Facebook page, although I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it is because I don't do Facebook. That's maintained by Chris and occasionally Tim. So you can go there and see what's up. Otherwise, you could check out our label at Cruz del Sur, which is, I think, cruzdelsurmusic.com, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, all the usual places. We have a Bandcamp page where you can hear all of our albums. Buy them digitally if you want. You can hear it on, all the usual digital outlets. Or, of course, your friendly neighborhood heavy metal shop if you are, I guess, in Japan.
Cool. Well, Matt, unless there's anything else you wanted to throw out there, I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day to come on to the Rock Metal Podcast and sharing Pharaoh with Rock Metal Nation.
I don't really have anything to add, but I did want to plug a few other new bands that maybe your listeners haven't heard and that I happen to be really digging and are kind of in the same vein. The first is a band called Gygax, named after Gary Gygax of Dungeons & Dragons fame. I think that there's maybe somebody from New Eden in that band or Gypsy Hawk or something, but they've got kind of a Thin Lizzy, sort of a heavy modern Thin Lizzy vibe. They're really good. There's a British band with a ridiculous name. They're called Dream Troll. And their first album, I kid you not, I think it's themed after He-Man. At least the cover is clearly a pastiche of He-Man and Castle Grayskull. And so you'd think that this is going to be the worst possible crap, like Glory Hammer level, just power metal idiocy. And it's awesome. They've got an album and an EP. And I'm also really fond of a band that's kind of local out here called Mind Maze. They're sort of Sabotage, classic Sabotage, if they were fronted by Pat Benatar, is kind of their thing, and they're great. And that's the melodic stuff that I'm listening to these days, and hopefully people jump from Pharaoh to them, and to all the other good stuff still being made in this style.
All right, Rock Metal Nation. Hopefully you just found your new favorite band in Pharaoh. Big thanks again to them for coming on and sharing their music with us. Make sure to head over to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca to get all the information on the show you just heard today. And until then, rock on, Rock Metal Nation.